mind. I need a girl.
Yeah. Yo, I'm internationally known on the microphone. I got it all, but I really need a wife at home, and I don't really like.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. I think Aurora's trying to give me a kiss. Well. Rather interesting developments on several fronts. I have to say, American litigation can be so entertaining. No, doubtless not for the people involved, but for the rest of us, it can certainly be entertaining. And also, American activities can be so entertaining, doubtless not for Americans, but for the rest of us. So I am going to top and tail this with Harry and P Diddy, etc., etc. And I am going to end it having started off on a high note. I'm going to end it on a really rich note. Oh dear. I mean, I'm sorry. I have to laugh. It's so bizarre. To do with somebody who many Americans love and many Americans loathe. So I don't think once I say that you are pretty sure you can guess exactly who I'm speaking about. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to plunge in with what Lindsay Aquila says. Dear Lady C, I've heard that Harry has been named in the P Diddy lawsuit dealing with a three-letter word beginning with S, and ending with X, that is the end of the second syllable of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's name. So, this being YouTube, I won't be very careful not to fall foul of their rules and regulations. So, P. Diddy's lawsuit dealing with Sussex second syllable trafficking, page 63 of 73. Have you heard anything about this? What does this mean for Harry? Well, I have heard of this, and I have looked into it, and I have done a bit of research. I am afraid people who are not that keen on Harry might find this whole thing a disappointment. Might. The operative word is might. This lawsuit could go the way of the Virginia Giuffre Prince Andrew lawsuit, but Harry has not been accused of anything save being present and being entertained by Sean Combs, who evidently, if the lawsuit can be relied upon, was very interested in both horizontal and vertical entertainment. Well, Harry could end up being tarred with this brush depending on what happens. But he has not been directly put in the frame. Also, Andrew was never known for debauchery. Andrew never cavorted nude, high as a kite, in Vegas or anywhere else, playing strip poker and doing other antics and activities that some people would regard as debauched. So right there, Harry is 6 steps ahead of Andrew in terms of the possibility of his activities being regarded as unseemly and, who knows, at the end of this all, illegal, because the feds have raided Sean Combs's houses in both California and Florida. And all of this arises out of a lawsuit brought by a record producer called Rodney Lil Rod Jones for some phantasmagoric sum of money. I'm not going to go into many of the details. I'm sorry. I found the whole thing so unsavory. I am not a prude, but I cannot stand unsavory activities. I suppose some people would say I'm a little bit prudish, but I'm not really. I just don't like unsavory things. Well, Mr. Jones has also named in the lawsuit P Diddy's son, Justin, his chief of staff, Christina Coram, and Universal Music Group CEO, Solution Grange. They're also defendants. And he accuses Christina Coram of, well, it used to be a compliment when you called a woman well-groomed. Let's put it that way. Nowadays, the word grooming has a completely different meaning. But he's thrown the whole book at them. And Sean Combs has said it is nothing but an attempt at legalized extortion. This follows quick on the heels of the lawsuit that his girlfriend of, I think, 10 years or some such length of time instituted against him. Her name is Cassandra Aventura, and they were friends, boyfriend, girlfriend. They met at night when she was 19, and they started up a romance, and they were together for 10 years. Well, I'm going to say something which might be unpopular, but I really do not see how naming Prince Harry is anything but a cheap shot. Nobody else has been named. There is no suggestion at this stage that Prince Harry did anything untoward, and therefore I am going to give him the full benefit of my doubt. And my doubt is huge in this instance. You know, there is something very discomforting about people who associate with other people for a considerable length of time and then try to make out that they are deserving of a whole load of money because something happened in the relationship that was unsavory. Now, I'm not speaking about people who are battered, whether it's husbands or wives. I speak as a battered wife. I have no sympathy for anybody who takes advantage of a spouse or a business partner or of any other partner, whether it be physically or otherwise. But a record producer who's produced something like 9 records for Sean Combs, is now presenting himself as a victim who was so terrified. And the girl, she was 10 years together. She's there posing on the red carpet, left, right, and centre. And then when the relationship is at an end, she discovers she was a victim. I'm sorry. This makes a mockery of true victimhood. And I think it is, in my opinion, very indicative of how the legal system is misused so that rich people can be effectively backed into a corner by poorer people. And I didn't say poor people, because there's very little doubt in my mind that neither Mr. whatever his name is, what is his name, Rodney Jones, or the woman's name, whatever her name was, Cassandra Ventura, they don't qualify as poor in my book. And I'm not speaking now as a Jamaican, I'm speaking as a Britisher, where the standards of living are far higher, and rich means far more and poor means far more than it does in a country like Jamaica. So let's wait and see what happens. But I think it is scandalous that Mr. Jones has had the unmitigated gall, the temerity, and the opportunistic obviousness to name Prince Harry. And if Harry went to parties where there was debauchery taking place, and that can be proven, that puts a different complexion on it. But also, why is it that it's not the ordinary people who Mr. Jones is complaining he had to acquire? I'm using very careful language for obvious reasons. Who have complained. Clearly, this was all about worldly gain and advancement. So they've not complained. As indeed, in situations like this, most of the people who are transactional, they have enough dignity to not complain. But then you have an arranger like Mr. Jones, who has actually, if you read the claim, he is actually admitting to being something of a procurer. Astonishing. Is he going to not be charged with the crimes of which he is, by his own account, guilty? I'm sorry. I think true victims who have been taken advantage of by people, they don't behave like this. This woman, Cassandra Ventura, she put in a claim for many $1 million, and it was settled within a day or two, because obviously Sean Combs realized that in the climate that is prevalent nowadays, he most likely wouldn't get a fair trial. And I'm sure that it will be interesting to see what happens, because, I actually don't approve of decadence and debauchery. But I have to say if people are over the age of consent and they wish to behave in a debauched manner, don't say that it wasn't your choice and that you had to do it. If you've done it for the third time and you're on a big salary and you could walk and you don't walk, you've done it for worldly gain and greed. I'm just astonished that juries don't understand this. Where has the moral code of right and wrong, personal responsibility? Why is it that we are living in a world now where every opportunist and blackmailer is given the benefit of the doubt? Not, of course, saying that any of the people I'm speaking about were blackmailers or are blackmailers. I make that point for legal reasons. But I'm just speaking about the general tone of it all. Harry deserves to have his name disassociated from this unsavory lawsuit. That's my opinion. And for the sake of clarity, may I make the point where Sean Combs is concerned? This is so far a civil case, but obviously Homeland Security is involved, so it means that it could expand into a criminal case. I am a firm believer in people accused of anything are innocent until they are proven guilty. And if they are then proven guilty, fair and square, they should swallow the medicine that is administered to them. I am not trying to excuse anybody who should not be excused, but equally, we are seeing far too much of situations nowadays where people are being shaken down. Not saying that that's happening in this case, but I always look at a situation where somebody has been in a relationship, whether it's personal or professional, for a length of time, and they do not walk, but they enjoy the benefits of that relationship. And when it comes to an end, they try to make a worldly gain and turn their collusiveness into victimhood. I think that is morally indefensible. So, let me put it that way. I am not taking up for anybody in this situation beyond saying that at the moment it looks as if Mr. Jones could have walked long before he did, and therefore he is collusive, just as how Miss Ventura could have walked long before she did, and therefore she was collusive. And let us wait and see what happens. But no matter what happens, where Harry is concerned, unless he was an active participant in debauched activities, his name should be removed. It is yet another cheap and vulgar shot to gain publicity and grab attention and also gain sympathy, where it becomes a David and Goliath situation and the royal family is yet again being misused. And as you know, I have no brief for Harry. So I hope that answers the question as comprehensively as possible and taking no side where Mr. Coombs and Mr. Jones are concerned. I certainly would, if I sat on the jury, be asking the questions. Why did you not leave? I'm sorry, you felt you had to stay because of the money? No, you're not going to admit that. You're going to say you had to stay because you were afraid to leave, but then you left. I mean, all this muddling of reality is very off-putting where I am concerned. So I hope that answers the question to the fullest extent of my possibility at this juncture. Cookie MM says, Lady Colin Campbell, a while back you said Catherine was ill, but it is not cancer. I thought you said you knew what was wrong with her. And one or two other people have made comments like this. I'm going to remind you that the Princess of Wales said that the operation that she went in for was not cancer. I never said that it was cancer because it wasn't. I know what it was, and I'm not prepared to say what it is. And people can complain till they're blue in the face and try to make out that I don't know what I'm talking about, and therefore I'm going to prove myself by somehow having my buttons pressed and spilling the beans. Not a chance. She also said in her statement on that bench, which the crazies are now trying to say is AI, I am well. That's what she said. I'm quoting her directly. I have said all along, I am not prepared to say what the underlying cause was. And I'm not prepared to say it. And I'm not going to be answering any more of these questions. And I don't care who asks the question, I'm not answering it. This is a closed subject from here on in. I'm beginning to feel that people are trying to pressurize me into proving them wrong and proving myself right. I'm not proving anything, sweetie pie. I'm not proving anything. If you listen to what I've said and you've listened to what the statements that were issued by or the Princess of Wales or on her behalf, we have accorded absolutely. And more than that, I'm not prepared to say. I don't know. It seems that everybody's not the right word. It seems that it is the right word, that everybody who feels that they are entitled to have their curiosities sated are allowed to cast aspersions on anybody who they think is going to be able to feed and satisfy their hunger. I'm not food. I'm not a nanny. I'm not feeding anybody who is going to be unreasonable and asking me to go beyond boundaries that I laid out very clearly from the very beginning. I hope I've made myself very clear because this is the last time I will be addressing this subject. And who wants to think I don't know anything? Please feel free to do so. And I would suggest, if you think that you're wasting your time because I don't know what I'm talking about, spend it more wisely. Don't waste it. But I'm not wasting any more of my time by being hectored. Bitter Beauty says, I think Meghan initially had high hopes of recruiting Kate as her latest bestie and turning the two of them into a royal double act where she would be on equal footing with Kate. Meghan wanted to avoid being slotted into a permanent junior position. It made her bitter when Kate showed zero interest in a personal friendship. Meghan doesn't like being thwarted. Bitter Beauty, genius, brilliant, absolutely spot on. Meghan has always feasted off people who were bigger and better than her. And once she has managed to get into the situation where they are on a par and therefore equal, she then finds a way of manipulating the situation so that she's their victim and she is in the ascendant position. My understanding is that Catherine spotted her very early on as being very manipulative and very phony, because Catherine is not manipulative and she's not phony. And Meghan's conduct, I understand, discomfited Catherine greatly. In fact, someone said to me that Meghan made Catherine's skin crawl. All that faux friendliness and all that faux, and she wasn't duped for a moment. But you're absolutely right. Meghan went in gangbusters and she thought it was going to work the way it worked with Sophie Trudeau and the way it worked with Jessica Mulroney, and it was going to work as well with Catherine, and it didn't. It didn't, because Catherine is cut from a different cloth. Jessica Mulroney, for all her virtues, is in the business of styling. She has a far more superficial view on life than Catherine does. Catherine is more into the profundities. Jessica, like Meghan, is into the superficialities. So it was never going to be a good mix. But you're absolutely right. And the rage that she has felt because she was spurned, she was rejected, she was thwarted. Thank God for Catherine doing it, because if she hadn't done it, she'd have been chewed up and spat out the way Jessica Mulroney and everybody else who ceases to be of use to Meghan has been. Because as it is, Catherine has been attacked roundly by Meghan. Can you imagine if she really had ammunition on her, what she would have done? It doesn't bear thinking about. Sohaila Shepherd says, I hope the Markle doesn't work on a nervous breakdown or something like that, for which she has to be rushed to a hospital. Just saying. Sohaila Shepherd, Are we pregnant with the possibilities of what might happen? Do you think Meghan is going to have a miscarriage? Do you think she's going to discover that she was a pregnant after all? I mean, she doesn't have to gain a pound. Doesn't have to gain a pound. She doesn't need to ruin her figure. Oh no. But will she do something else? I don't think she's going to do that, because I think she thinks that's too close to home. So what else will she do? Something equally mythical, doubtless. Is it going to be a nervous breakdown? Or is it going to be most likely how wonderful she is, how healthy she is, who knows what it's going to be? The lesson I've learned from dealing with people like Meghan is that they are the ultimate opportunists. They don't know necessarily what tools they're going to use day after tomorrow to get them from point A to point C. They know the destination they're heading in. They know they know that they want to get there. They simply don't know how. What they then do is opportunistically use whatever is in front of them. So it's very difficult to predict the precise object that is going to be employed and deployed by people like Meghan to advance her interests and her objectives. But what is very predictable is she's going to come up with something. Let's wait and see what it is. Oh, poor Megsie baby. My heart bleeds for her in anticipation of the ordeal she's going to go through. Poor darling. Amethyst Feathers says, my heart aches for William, no mother for support, his father, wife and aunt all battling cancer, and constant bullying and abuse by the media and Sussex squad via the Harkles. He only recently lost his grandparents, and his foul brother is a treasonous traitor. Markle has brought nothing to the table except poisonous bile and vomit. Well, those are your sentiments, and I would be the last one to say that you have not arrived at them according to the evidence that has put before you by both that couple's behaviour. I feel sorry for William as well. I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for Catherine. I know what it's like. I experienced it for 55 years to live with a Meghan Markle in my life. It is extremely disturbing and discomforting. However, if you have a strong character, and William does, if you have a strong marriage, and William does, if you have good values, and William does, you will ultimately prevail. One of the lessons that life has taught me is that everything, all base metal, can be turned into gold. And everything in life can be used, as long as you use it wisely and well, to enhance your spiritual development and your life and the life of those surrounding you. So I have a degree of sympathy for him, but I also trust that he and Catherine are going to see through this latest part of the ongoing ordeal to which they have both been subjected as a result of his brother and sister-in-law's quite extraordinarily, in my view, abusive conduct, and the problems that they have created and the difficulties that they have set out to cause for everybody. Deborah Robbins says, if Harry proceeds with his ridiculous court suit about Princess Diana, Harry will be smearing his own mother horribly. Harry is either running out of money or he is doing this to get back at Prince William for some insane reason. Harry is truly disgusting. You are referring to Harry's lawyer's attempts to bring in Diana's affair with Oliver Hall. It was not her finest moment, and I am beyond bemused that Harry would so cynically or stupidly or insanely or all three think that he can get away with using it and it's not going to affect his mother's reputation. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe Meghan actually, she said, it's in my book, she wanted to be more famous than Diana. So she's in a competition with Diana. So maybe there's a subtext there that she actually quite happily wants to undermine Diana and denigrate Diana, and it has encouraged Harry to do it so that she'll shine more brightly because she didn't have an affair with a married man. And she didn't try to break up the married man's marriage. Of course, you could be right. This could be a way of needling William. This could be a way of damaging William. This could be a way of harming William. Because Diana had a far more involved relationship with William than she did with Harry. The 2 years age difference made a huge difference. And William was more mature, and as we can see, but he always was. He was always more intelligent. He was always more nurturing and nicer. And William is the one who she would involve and who would push tissues underneath the door when she was having one of her crying jags. Maybe Harry's jealous of that. I don't really know. All I know is that it is insane to be doing what he's doing if he has any respect whatsoever for his mother's reputation. Or maybe he feels it's all out there, everybody knows about it, and he can actually profit from it because the newspapers are going to be so concerned they're going to settle and he's going to make a shed load of money. Is that the reason? It could be. It could be. I don't know what the reason is, but I certainly think it traduces his mother's memory. I think it's appalling. And I agree. He is truly disgusting. He is. Off that alone, he is disgusting. I mean, but you know, Harry and Meghan have shown us that they are the primary examples before the public of what not to be. Frightening. Liz Tyler says, Lady C, what do you make of Donald Trump becoming one of the world's richest men overnight with the launch of his Twitter rival, Truth Social? Well, sadly, he's not giving me any of the money, and I don't suppose he's giving you either. What do I make of it? Well, it's obviously a good idea. Evidently, he owns more than 50%, and it arrived on the Nasdaq exchange through a merger, not murder, through a merger with a listed cash shell, and the value of Donald Trump's majority stake in the company is, at the time of my investigating this, is $5.5 billion. So he's now, without a doubt, entered the Bloomsbury Billionaires 500 richest people on earth index. Well, talk about the ups and downs of fortune. A few days ago, in fact, on Monday, if he hadn't been able to come up with the bond of, I think it was $450 million, which he couldn't come up with, he was going to be declared, well, his assets were going to be seized to that value, which he managed to see off. And now, a few days later, he's added $5.5 billion on paper to his overall wealth. Well, of course, he can't sell the shares for a certain length of time. So at this point, it's value as opposed to cash, let's put it that way. But what do I think of it? Listen, anybody who has a good idea and makes a lot of money, I have nothing against. I should think, though, that all the people who don't like Trump, including certain members of my family, are going to be frothing at the mouth. You know, talk about poking your adversaries in the eye. I mean, he's certainly proven this week that nothing succeeds like success. I mean, this is truly extraordinary. You couldn't make any of this up either. I mean, can you imagine if you put it in a novel? Between the Harry and Meghan show and the Donald Trump show, or indeed what's happening to Donald Trump at the moment as a result of the people who are going after him. If you put any of this in a novel 2 years ago, people would have said, what a crummy writer. I mean, what an overactive imagination. None of this can be believed. Well, 2 years ago where Trump is concerned, 5 years ago where Harry and Meghan are concerned. Well, amazing. That's all I can say. It certainly shows that life is never dull, even if sometimes the people who make it entertaining can be boring. Life itself is never dull, and we need to enjoy it in all its complexity. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening to this. I hope it has been of some interest to you. Please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what topics you would like us to address together. Okay, thank you. Godspeed.